of our poverty-stricken people who are the owners of the richest continent and yet feature the poorest of people.
Thank you very much, Alhaji. Let me come to Dr. Ramsey. Dr. Ramsey, happenings in Niger. I asked the question as to if the 5-year transition period isn't too long, but Alhaji argues that, look, it is better to have unpalatable food than to have no food at all. And so,
is better than that.
Yeah, of course. Do you share similar sentiments?
Well, let me take this opportunity to say good morning to your very good self and to my senior colleague, Honorable Ebie Fuseni. Indeed, he is tempting a battle that he can't win. But we'll see. As for the Dagombas watching us today, know that after here, I'm going to tie him up and take him to Kavli and prove a point.
He's aware that our people say that somebody you can hit, you don't push him.
Let me take this opportunity to say Juma Mubarak and Ramadan Kareem to my fellow Muslim brothers and sisters.
Yeah, the final stretch.
And to our leader, Honorable Alan Kojo Tremantin, and to the good people of Ghana in general. Bless. The issue of Niger. You know, Niger has been the cynosure of economic progress and development in Africa in terms of its discussion. We quite remember when you rank 6 of the fastest growing economies in Africa, Niger was counted as one after the military junta took over. And we sat here and we criticized them because they did not get to power upholding to through the tenets of democracy and in accordance with the Treaty of ECOWAS. But I always would have to eat my humble pie, because if you have leaders that uphold to the dream, the vision of promoting the interests of their country and the ideals or the ideology of Pan-Africanism, then of course, be it through a military coup or be it a through constitutional means getting into power, we should support them. And so I support the proposal given by the Niger junta due to what they have shown so far, that, I mean, within this short period they've been in power, which all the constitutionally elected presidents in Niger could not do that. They were rather licking the boots of the French. And as Honorable Ebie Fuseni did reiterate, uranium is largely found in Niger, in Africa. And the French, 1/3 of France's uranium is purchased from Niger, or is supplied by Niger. Now, the French buy this uranium for less than, I think, $1 per kilogram. But when General Chiani came into office and sacked all these corrupt officials under Bazoum, they renegotiated the deal and they are buying it over 400 euros per kg according to the world market price and standards. And so, bless, if you have leaders like this, do we want them to continue, or we say that due to the means in which they came into power, so they should step aside? I mean, we've all read about the history of Burkina Faso. We've all seen what the blessed departed Captain Thomas Sankara did for his people and promoted the ideology of Pan-Africanism and patriotism in Burkina Faso, which Burkina Faso at that time was building an economy that was not reliant on their colonial or former colonial masters, the French. They were trying to build a self-sufficient economy, be it in terms of food security and the energy security as well in their country. And so General Chiani is doing quite well. Of course, part of the issues that they had with ECOWAS was that ECOWAS disagreed with the 3-year transition period they proposed to them, right? and they put in some punitive sanctions against them because of the way they rose to power. But here's the case. ECOWAS has not been fair to Niger, Burkina Faso, and what? Mali. Because if you look at the happenings in La Côte d'Ivoire, right, in 2011, how Thomas, Gbagbo, and then Ouattara had their issues, right? And then how today Ouattara is trying to seek a fourth term in contravention with the previous constitution, because he had to change the constitution to fit it. This is what we call a democratic coup, right? And we've seen that across the length and breadth of Africa. People use democracy as a means of promoting some form of autocracy and manipulating electoral processes and having a firm grip on power in their various countries. But here is a man who I see standing for his people, fighting for his people. And these are the kind of leaders that we need in Africa to be able to crack the whip and break the shackles of the imperialists who do not want to see us progress but rather regress as a people. And so I commend this general, and within this 5-year period, of course, he should ensure that he puts in the right structures, builds in the right capacity of the Nigerian people, so that, of course, if he even wants to contest in the elections after 5 years as a civilian in this capacity, I think that he should do that. But we want to see them transition into constitutional rule and uphold to the tenets of ideal and fair democracy, and not democracy that will be used to promote autocracy. And so, yes, we wish them well. And I know that President Mahama has appointed a very competent person, Colonel Bevlolate, who is the envoy for these Sahelian states. And I know that, and I have a firm affirmation that he will do just and also make sure that we can be able to realign our vision as a country in terms of our goals to develop and to have the ideology of a positive neutrality, right? We want to uphold to positive neutrality when we are dealing with other countries, and Niger is definitely a country that we have enjoyed economic and political ties with since the inception of our self-governance as a country. And so we wish them well, and we know that the President of the Republic of Ghana, as he has appointed an envoy, would make sure that we can be able to build closer ties with Niger, and if hopefully we can be able to bring them back to ECOWAS and then strengthen our regional integration for the collective good of the West African people.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ramsey Inusa. Already I'm receiving several messages relative to our next topic for conversation. It has got to do with the petition against the removal of the Chief Justice. The President is in consultation with the Council of States to arrive at a decision to whether or not to start the processes to, remove her. I am going to read something that was shared that Ghana Web carried somewhere in 2017, 12 December 2017. And the headline is EC boss requesting copy of petition from presidency curious. And this came from Eugene Ahin, who was the director of communications at the presidency in the Eswal administration. The presidency has described as curious the decision by the beleaguered chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, to write to the president requesting for a copy of the petition for her removal. The AC boss is asking the president and the Chief Justice Committee probing her and her two deputies to furnish her with a copy of the petition seeking her impeachment. She said even though she has cooperated with the committee over the alleged issues plaguing the commission, she is yet to receive a copy of the specific allegations being made against her by her staff. Subsequent to my response to the allegations contained in the petition, I have heard no further from her ladyship, the Chief Justice. I would appreciate being furnished with a copy of the alleged petition to enable me seek the requisite legal advice. I would also appreciate clarification as to the composition and terms of reference of the committee, Mrs. Osei said in a letter addressed to the Chief Justice and the President. But the Director of Communications at the Presidency, Eugene Ahin, has said the Constitution disallows the President from granting the EC chairperson's response, urging her to request a copy of the petition from the Chief Justice. It's quite curious, but whatever be the case, we certainly will be the wrong forum for lawyers to be looking for copies of the petition. Whatever be the case, if you are looking for copies of the petition, they are no longer with us, they are with the Chief Justice. She's even found it wise to set up a committee, so I believe the best place to get a copy of the petition is from the Chief Justice. Right. Some 7-8 years later, we are here again. This time around, it is the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Tokono, and I am not surprised that there's been impeachment processes against her. I mean, it does not surprise me, especially looking at what has transpired over the last few months. To the end of the MPP's, tenure, the things that happened. But there have been suits against the president, that suits that seek to bar him, injunction, to injunct him from proceeding with this process. Alhaji ABF Hussaini, I'm starting this conversation with you. I read the one relating to Madame Charlotte Osei because of the purposes of education, and I mean we are all not lawyers over here, but according to Eugene Ahin, that petition was with the Chief Justice, and so Madame Charlotte Osei ought to have contacted her for the petition, the details of the petition back in 2017. So I want to find out, this time around, it is the Chief Justice herself. Doesn't she have a right to have copies of these petitions, especially in a place as Chief Justice? Alhaji?
Yes. Bless. You see, human beings, and especially those in authority, must always know that there's a tomorrow. If you want to prevent a tomorrow, then make sure that the sun does not set. Once the sun sets, that tomorrow will come. What you just read, you are talking about the constitution of this republic, the supreme law of the land, certain high-profile office holders who are to be impeached or taken out of office, the standard that should be met before those people can exit office. Is that not the case? Was Charlotte Osei not in that realm, in that category of high-profile personalities the Constitution sought to protect and to ensure that unless there was as you clearly read out, serious cases bordering on misbehavior or ethical misconduct or malfeasance or some other thing or stated grounds of misbehavior that warrants their exit from office, and that will be determined by a primary facie case. Is that not the case? Was Charlotte Osei not also human enough to have her fundamental human rights and freedoms respected? You just read what Eugene Ahin, and I believe that he was the secretary, executive secretary, communication director at the presidency. Yes. In other words, he's more or less there. Okay. Yeah. So clearly, I think that one of the issues that we have to contend with in this country has been the issue of double standards, hypocrisy. That when the shoe is on the other foot, it is a piece of wood. It is only a shoe and a proper leg when it is on the other side, on your side. And so for me, I think that we get poetic justice coming back to indicate to us exactly how the former regime that has exited, handle affairs and set a precedent. Look, bless the interpretations that are given. I'm not a lawyer. I'm neither a lawyer nor a judge, but I know that it is not just on the face of the law, but they also look at precedents and practices in the bid to interpret the law. Is that not the case? So if the Supreme Court in a judgment on a certain matter had taken a certain position, if similar matters come before the court, they'll take guidance from what had happened in that previous case, upon which they can rely on precedents or practice to help them in adjudicating the matter. Okay? So in this particular matter, was Madam Charlotte Osei, even when she applied to the court to have the fundamental human rights vindicated as a citizen of this republic, and in consonance with the Odi Partem, you are maybe you people are closer to lawyer. Me, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to advertise my ignorance, but that is the fundamental basis. Okay, was she entitled to that or not? Did she get that even in the application before the court? What did the Supreme Court or any other body that adjudicated matter say on this matter? So bless, it will become one of the testing grounds. And if you look at Article 1467, 1467, I'm sure that is where the argument partly comes out. It states clearly that the president, on the receipt of the petition, refers it to the Council of State in consultation. 1467. Where's 146? Is that where you have opened? No, this 146. 6. Where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the President shall, and that's mandatory, shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a committee consisting of 2 justices of the Supreme Court, one of whom shall be appointed chairman by the President, and 3 other persons who are not members of the Council of State, nor members of Parliament, nor lawyers. That's what it says. So the issue of whether or not the president has, or the president is duty bound to make copies of the petition available, I can't find it here. So if you want to go back to what Eugene Ayin said, let's assume without admitting that his law is what he said was sacrosanct in conformity with the law, then the president will not commit any sin if he does not make any copies of the petition available. Is that not the case? So I'm minded by the fact that maybe this thing is before the court, so maybe you cannot make copious commentary on the subject matter. But that is the precedent I'm trying to talk about, and the practice. And so if that is the precedent and the practice, you are, I think that the matters will take their own course. But let us come back to, you see, I've always said that, bless, when you light a bonfire, you will see how raging the fire will be. Give it a few hours, it will be reduced to coal ash. And so I've always said that today, if by the grace of the Almighty they put the destinies of people under you to decide their fate, especially as judges, as lawyers, as especially Supreme Court judges, one day, that almighty power that you have you will exit from that authority, and then also be subjected to the same laws that you had executed against some other people. So it's very, very important to always uphold the integrity of the law, to always uphold justice for all manner of people without ill will or affection, so that at the end of the day, when the time comes for you to face similar decision, the same integrity principles will apply to you. And so I don't want to talk too much on this matter because it's still before the Supreme Court and it is early days yet. But I can say that when you are eating a monkey's hand, look at your own. It may well be your hand you will be eating tomorrow. And so I think that we should tread with justice, fairness, and the integrity of the law without any ill will or affection, but as firm as it can be, so that the laws of this country will be upheld, so that nobody will be insulated from facing justice. Nobody will be insulated from the vigorous of the law when you are caught on the wrong side of the law. And so for me, that should be the yardstick. If it has to bite, it should bite and bite fairly. So long as it's fair and it's anchored on the rule of law and the fundamental human rights taken on board, I am for it.
Right. I have received several messages. I'll attempt to read some of them. Good morning. It's about time we, the citizens, started dealing with some of these greedy politicians who are cheating on us, because you won't even see their children anywhere around to punish them for what their parents are doing. They are far away having the best education, while their parents are also feeding our children with 1 cedi food and creating ghost names to collect that 1 cedi food from our children. By the time you see their children in the country, then they are in for members of parliament and ministers. There's no way they'll even begin from the contest of assemblyman and will come and continue the stealing brigade. Jake from Asamanke say, thank you, Jake, for your message. Tomla Mankraso says Ghana has become the hub of corruption and criminal mismanagement under the past Kufuor-Bawumia government, and the loss of the numerous ECG containers is yet another confirmation of the shameless thievery that government supervised. Prosecutions must be carried out as swiftly as possible. All right, thank you very much. Good morning, host. From the look of things, a former Attorney General and the MP for Otafo seems to be fighting for another member of their fold, MPP, the CJ, as if she is a member. Why can't the systems be allowed to flow? The interruptions in cases that come up are becoming one too many. Chris from DBI, all right. Prosper from Kaleji says, good morning, Mr. KOKU ALORMASOR. Chief Justice has to go at all costs. Why is the Chief Justice requesting for a copy of the petition? What is she requesting it for? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your message. Same Boache from Asamankese says, Mahama, this is not the promise you gave Ghanaians. The question is, will removing the Chief Justice clean our water bodies? Removing the Chief Justice gave you the solutions to doom. So removing the Chief Justice gave a reduction of the high rate of food prices in the system. This is unacceptable, and this kind of intimidation and hatred must stop. Ghanaians deserve better.
The removal was shallow.
Right. Thank you, Sami Boachi, for your message. This one here also says that hello, good morning, sir. You didn't tell me your name. That's all you said. Good morning to you. Good morning, Bless, as well as your esteemed listeners. My take on the CJ's case: the Chief Justice should have waited for the Council of State's advice to the President on whether there's a strong case against her or not. If there's a case, then the President would forward the reasons to her and due process would follow. It's concerning that The Supreme Court is reportedly hearing her case on April 2nd. This raises questions about fairness and equal treatment. Many cases, like the Asin North MP case, have been pending for years without a resolution. Meanwhile, cases involving those in power seem to be expedited, like the Apenyo Markin case, which was heard within days. This perceived bias erodes trust in the judiciary and reinforces the notion that some Ghanaians receive preferential treatment than those of us at the grassroots level. I'm referencing the famous quote from George Orwell's book Animal Farm. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Aigbe from Tamale. Thank you so much, Aigbe, for your message. Now let me come to Dr.
Just one point before you come in. I mean, I feel you realize that some prominent members of the New Patriotic Party, including the member of parliament for Tafu, Esafua, and then the former attorney general acting as lawyer, and the copious commentary they have been making in the public domain in respect of this matter, trying to paint the thing as if it's some political witch hunt, is what is further poisoning this matter. Because why is the MPP in a hurry to jump to the defense of the Chief Justice? Is there a smoking gun? That is the issue. And for me, I think that it is important that people are minded very much about what commentaries they continue to run. Because I listened to Asafua, my former friend in Parliament, the commentaries that came in respect of this matter, a flurry of comments in respect of this matter. And then now the outgone Attorney General, on whose head hangs so many controversial things that he did as Attorney General, stepping into this matter. I think that it further poisons the atmosphere and creates room for some political injection of more politics into the thing. And I'm saying that if they continue on that trajectory, I'm sure that they will have X on their faces.
Yeah, right. Dr. Ramsey.
Yes.
I mean, I said I wasn't surprised that there have been petitions for the removal of the Chief Justice. I mean, especially looking at the tail end of the Eswal Nanado administration and all the things that had happened under her supervision as Chief Justice. Some of the cases, even some of the cases, she was part of the panel. And if you saw where, yes, you see, if you listened to a commentary, at that point he said we were in a constitutional crisis because Parliament wasn't, functioning, and all the things. She said, and also, I mean, this may be controversial, but I'll say it regardless. You look at the posture of the Chief Justice, wherever the president was, the then candidate, John Mahama was, wherever he was. If you looked at the posture of the Chief Justice, this may not count, but I'm just saying. Yeah, like she it appears that there's some personal vendetta.
Bless. You said you were not surprised. I equally am not surprised, because if you follow our political history since the inception of our Fourth Republic, you realize that some positions held by various people and now various independent constitutional bodies are quite coterminous with the tenure of the party in power. And this has really derailed our governance system in this country. And yes, I equally agree with this current government on principle and backed by data, right, that in fact, not only the Chief Justice, but some justices of the Superior Court have to be removed. And why am I saying that? If you look at the Mo Ibrahim Governance Index, Ghana's judiciary autonomy has declined by 50% from 2017 to 2024. our judiciary autonomy has declined by 50%. And this is as a result of sudden appointments, right, made by the SWR government. You quite remember the famous case of Justice Gawu, who was once an MPP parliamentary candidate in the Volta region, and then elevated into the position of a justice of the Superior Court, right? And you know, like I said, partisan politics has always derailed our country rather than bring out the best of ideas to promote good governance in this country. And it is time we look at how best we can amend our constitution to be able to curtail these kind of things that are, I would say, detrimental to our democracy and what we stand for as a country. Yes, Article 146 is clear on the removal of the Chief Justice. There is no provision in Article 146 that says that the Chief Justice can have a copy of the petition, or the President should copy the Chief Justice in regards to the petitions he receives for her removal or his removal. And so what she's asking for is neither here nor there. It is not backed by law, and it's in fact the discretion of the President to do that. But bear in mind, if you look at the wisdom of the Constitution, Article 146, it says that the President, in consultation with the Council of State, will set up a committee, a 5-member committee, right, which will look into the matter. And of course, they would give her a fair hearing based on the allegations in the petition, according to the principles of natural justice or the ultra partem. And so she should exercise patience. When it gets there, she will know the merits or the demerits of the Constitution based on what she's been of the petition, based on what they feed her with. I don't see the rush in her asking for these the copy of the petition. Looking at the posture of this Chief Justice and how she was able to look at the issues with Parliament, right, where the Speaker and her were at I would say at loggerheads, almost at a serious banter between the two arms of government, right, where the Supreme Court would give an interpretation that would seek to favor a political motive by the applicants of that case, which was the MPP at that time. And so her manner or her conduct in office, we are not surprised that there is a petition to remove her. Indeed, she has to go. She has to go. I mean, you've taken over, and you realize that all the other CJs appointed by the SWR government did not contribute well to the judiciary system of this country. If you look at all the indicators, the Afrobarometer report is indicating to us that Ghanaians are beginning to lose trust in our judiciary. Right? If you see the manner in which cases are adjudicated in our courts today, it seems as if we're living in a banana republic. It is those that have money that win cases in Ghana. You cannot win cases that have good merits without money. And our judiciary, unfortunately, has been coupled with corruption. And I link this and I refer this to the Anas expose.
Justice for sale. Yes,
justice for sale. And it seems we are not getting anywhere. We are not getting any better as a country. And you know, we have advocated for some constitutional reforms and amendments, and I am glad that the President has put in a 5-member committee to look into this matter. But it should not be of a political nature, right? But we want to see pragmatic actions and solutions towards attaining this goal. Bless. Ghana currently runs a unicameral parliamentary system. We are proposing that, looking at the kind of nature of our partisan politics and the polarization of our various independent constitutional bodies, Ghana should now adopt a bicameral parliamentary system where we'll create a second chamber. This second chamber, right, should not have state actors and political actors. It should be devoid of partisan politics or any form of political influence, right? And we are proposing that this second chamber, when we create it, those that would uphold this chamber should be made up of our chiefs, our traditional authorities. And people would argue that, but in Ghana, we see our traditional authorities indulge in open partisan politics or open political statements. But bless, before God and man, let's be honest with ourselves. There's a reason why our chiefs do that. Because they want development for their people. Right? They want to get some form of benefits from the politicians and the political class to be able to promote development in their locality. And that is why they do that. Everybody licks the boot of the politician in this country to get a favor, because of the kind of constitution that we run in this country, bless. And so this second chamber would be made up of these our traditional authorities, our faith-based organization, our trade unions, CSOs, the media, academia, reps of the PWDs, and our revered what do you call them, persons or captains of the private sector, so that collectively, bless, this body would have the mandate by law to appoint heads of various independent constitutional bodies, so that tomorrow our judiciary autonomy would be 100%. Because we know in this country that if party A or party B appoints you into a certain position, you definitely would have to align yourself with the vision of that party or the agenda of that party. And that is why, based on the current constitution we run, the president has the discretion to appoint or sack various heads of some independent constitutional bodies to align his party's agenda and vision to run his government. And we are saying that these positions are quite sensitive, and they should be appointed by persons of some form of neutral background, so that we can be able to strengthen our governance system, and we will not have a situation whereby the position of these people will be coterminous with the tenure of the party in power. And I think that this proposal that we are laying down will go a long way to help build a stronger Ghanaian governance system and society, so that collectively we can focus on the teething issues that really affect our people. And as I speak to you, the Kaswa-Weja Road, did you see the flood?
Yeah. I know that place very well.
And it has been there for God knows how long.
For a very long time, yeah.
The Accra-Kumasi Road is still not dualized. Parts of it is just dualized. The Kintampo,
small part of it.
Small part of it.
Yeah.
Kintampo to Tamale, right? Kumasi to Tamale is not dualized. Accra to Cape Coast is not dualized. These are issues that we need to strengthen as a people. These are issues that the governments or various governments that have led this country have failed to address. And so, bless, we are calling for amendment of this book. Until we do not amend this book, bless, we are not going to see any change. We will be swimming in circles. And it would always be a deja vu when we talk about issues like that. Because Party A will say, well, when you came to power, you did this to us. So we are also going to do the same thing.
To you, yeah.
So we are dealing with precedents, always accusing each other based on the precedents that we set. But at the end of the day, it is the ordinary people that suffer. It is the ordinary people that suffer. Yes, I agree that this woman should go. I also agree that if President Mahama would amend the constitution that we're dealing with, these issues will be a thing of the past. And so this 4-year tenure of his is, as he called it, a legacy tenure. He should look at ways and means of ensuring that they amend this constitution. They have indeed a mighty majority in parliament, right? And they have the goodwill of the Ghanaian people so far. And so they should leverage on these things and push that agenda to expedite the processes for constitutional reforms and amendments, so that going forward, Ghana would have a good governance system and the people can be alleviated from poverty, and we can be able to see Ghana shine bright in the League of Stars in the world.
Right.
Well, bless, just one little point. I think we have been here before. You remember the infamous black goat and yams thing under Georgia Wood, when the following analysis revelation in which even some judges were alleged to have stooped so low that they could take black goats and yams and dispense justice. and I remember one very important point that the former National Security Minister made, that is Sir Albert Kamdapa. He pointed out that, look, if the rulings of the court and especially of the highest court of the land goes in one direction all the time, it's like this, 7-0, 5-0, there's not even a digression. You remember that statement that he made, that it undermines confidence in the judicial system, and especially coming from the apex court. If that trend and the perception exists that this is what it is, especially when political cases come, they go in that direction, it doesn't augur well for our democratic process, and brings out things like this, that they see the judicial as being subservient to the executive. Meanwhile, we are operating a doctrine of separation of powers, checks and balances, where the judiciary is supposed to function as an independent organ, tasked with the responsibility of dispensing justice freely, fairly, and in a transparent and credible manner, without being tied to the apron strings of the executive. So if you have comments even coming like this from important persons like that, what does it portray?
But another thing to add to that, you know, in terms of autonomy, right, and independence of our judiciary, I mean, based on what we have in the Constitution, they are not financially independent. Their budget has been approved by Parliament, which is another arm of government. And so part of the way forward for Ghana in terms of amendment is that the judiciary, or the judiciary arm of government, should have that financial autonomy to be able to present its budget through its own approval processes, rather than using another arm to approve it.
Well, but you are talking about their budget. I thought it was from the consolidated fund.
Yes, but then it has to be approved by Parliament, right. Which is another arm of government.
Obviously, I'm sure it's part of
the checks and balances here.
But authority is the executive.
Yeah. Yes, but then you have the budget approved by Parliament. That is the check. But then that's why we are saying that when you bring in a bicameral parliamentary system, where we know that the current parliamentary system that we run is coupled with some form of partisan politics, right? So of course, if Party A has majority and the judiciary is not in their good books, of course then they can use that power in Parliament to try and squeeze them one way or the other. You know what I mean? And so that, by bringing a bicameral parliamentary system and having a second chamber which is apolitical, you can then approve these various budgets of these independent bodies, so that we will not have partisan politics derail a lot of things and influence decisions of these various independent bodies.
Right. A hearty good morning to Mr. Stephen Peng, one of our cherished viewers. Always.
He was my senior.
He mentioned the other time. You mentioned, yes, yeah. Right, so good morning. He says, good morning, Bless. HE, the president, has aptly described Ghana as a crime scene. PDS scandal, Skytrain, Ijapadale, Ameridale 1 and 2, BC 52 million scandal, GRA SML deal, and currently the NSB scandal, ECG container thievery, ABBA, MPPY, never again. Bless. All those involved in the above must voluntarily go to Nsawam and wait for their sentences. Stephen Penn from WA. Great ABA for saying it for me, please. He added that. Right. I'll do some more. Bless. Good morning to you and your panelists. They are doing justice to the topic. I'm Harrison from Wipe. I'm surprised about two things in relation to the CJ's removal. First, why are MPP lawyers running helter-skelter to fight for the CJ but not human rights lawyers? Secondly, why is the CJ so much in a hurry to read the petition? Her reactions show she has cobwebs in her files. Otherwise, she should stop demonstrating to Ghanaians that she has some things to hide. Lawyers who should have been interested in this case should be human rights lawyers but not political political lawyers. How can she be fair in her dealings? All right, thank you. Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm says, good morning, my brother. Now we are in the construction that is stated that now in the Constitution it is stated that copies of the petition should be made available to the Chief Justice. The fact is that during the process she will be given the opportunity to defend herself by appearing at the committee, so the Chief Justice should not be in a hurry because she will be given an opportunity to be heard. But I'm sorry, the MPP has taken up this matter like a World Cup. Let me tell the MPP that the Chief Justice is not above the laws of this land. Due process must be allowed to work. All right, thank you, Alhaji Hamza, for your message. Sabama Umar Adam from Alaju says, why is the CJ trying to resist the exit from office? Has she forgotten how they connived and kicked Madame Charlotte Osei from the EC's office? This should serve as a lesson to people in authority. What is good for the goose is equally good for the gander. Okay. What is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. The CJ tried to walk faster than her legs. She behaved like like a monkey who has gone to devastate a farmer's maize farm, then reports to the chief. This one is not so clear, right? I'll do some more messages that I have received on my Facebook. It's this one here. Says that good morning, bless. I don't understand the same CJ who reported to former President Akufo-Addo. Why? Alhaji Savulugu says, good morning, bless. Watching you live. Great Honorable ABF Husseini for me. Okay. Bless. What the CJ is doing is pre-ejaculation. She will be given copies if the matter has weight and a panel has to be constituted. So CJ, take it cool and not be led by MPP lawyers. Okay. Alfredo says, good morning, Pan-African TV and your wonderful panelists. You are loud and clear in NKC Upper West Region. Why is the MPP filing suits left, right, center just to keep the CJ in office? What are they afraid of? Whatever they do, most of them will rot in jail for the crimes and harm they have committed against Mother Ghana. George Stevenson says, I hope Ghanaians understand J.J. Rawlings now. Look at the magnitude of corruption and damage done to Ghana's economy by the MPP government. They have been like this since Nkrumah's time. Okay, thank you. Let's proceed to our next topic for conversation. It has got to do with the missing ECG containers. Initially, it was reported that there were 3,000 of them. Then he whittled down to some 2,500. Now we understand it's 1,300. But the energy minister has come to explain that what he was told that it was 3,000. Then he went on grounds, and then what he was told then again, I mean, the 3,000 was from the MPP during the transitional period, and then he went to the port, and then he was told it was 2,005, and then upon further investigation, it's concluded that it's actually 1,300. Well, there have been traces, there have made investigations, and it has revealed that some 40 of these containers have been retrieved, have been traced to a warehouse around Shire Hills. Some Chinese nationals, including a Ghanaian, have been arrested to that effect. Alhaji, I'm surprised. How could something as big as a container get missing? Not one, not two, over 1,000.
You didn't hear that 700 excavators. Ramsey, you remember 700 excavators?
Yes.
Grew wings and flew to where? Let me comment highly the Honorable Minister for Energy. I'm sure ever since his appointment, he's a minister who has taken the job President Mahama has given him very, very seriously, and is more or less not an armchair minister. He's always on the field trying to get to the bottom of the issues. And you even alluded to that fact that in the transition, those and others, the number of containers that were mentioned was over 3,200 plus. Okay. When the minister went on the field to go and check, reported that the number dwindled to 2,500 or so. So even the committee that has been tasked to investigate this matter must even establish the veracity of the figures ab initio. Was the number given in the transitional report correct? And if it's correct, what happened at the time until when the handover was done for the minister to go and find out for the numbers to dwindle from 3,200 to 2,500? That has to be established. And I believe that the minister will take judicious duties of that and endeavor to get to the bottom of the matter. Look, I am aware that substantial numbers of Ghanaians are still living in darkness. They have not yet had the benefit of our national cake, where electrification will reach their doors for them to participate in the electricity supply from the national grid. I am aware that since coming to His Excellency President Mama had promised many Ghanaians that there was going to be an aggressive pursuit of rural electrification, and I'm sure that this has been given vent to by the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Honorable John Jidapo. And so this is where we are today in respect of the materials. My understanding is that a lot of the containers contain electrical materials meant to give accelerated drive on the rural electrification program. And so you can imagine that if within this short period containers numbering about 1,300, because if you say the number of containers they have left now, those missing will be about almost 1,200 getting to 1,300. What has happened to those containers? What impacts are they going to make? I'm sure you can even see ab initio that it is going to have a serious impact, negative impact. Let me be very clear on the bid to ensure that our brothers and sisters in the rural areas who have not yet seen the benefit of electrification projects are going to continue to stay in darkness. I think this is highly criminal, and I want to urge that the law enforcement agencies, and especially let me commend the national security, Alhaji Osman and his people, for a very diligent job in trying to trace the containers, not to anything but to a Chinese, what do you call it, non-Ghanaians who are doing this to us. I don't think Ghanaians can go into any country and endeavor to engage in such high level criminal activity. And so I think that no matter whose axe is God, we must get to the bottom of this matter. I think that there must be some local Ghanaian collaborators who are partners in this crime, and I think that they must all be flushed out and dealt with ruthlessly. There should be no room for anybody to undermine the quest for a better life for our people, especially when we talk about the issues of rural electrification. I see it as a right for many of our brothers and sisters who still have not yet gotten that benefit. And so if government in its bid is making attempts to get improvement in our rural areas for this infrastructure to get to the people, we should not tolerate anybody who rise up to undermine it. Bless, you remember the minister had part of his press conference indicated that this syndicate, they sell those who took the containers, they go and sell it to people, a container of about $300,000. Ramsey, they sell it at 100,000 Ghana cedis to people outside, and then they buy it and come and sell it to ECG for $500,000. So you see the criminal gang, the racket, the syndicate that is involved in this thing. And so they may have collaborators even at the ports.
$300,000, 4.8 million Ghana cedis.
Okay. And then they
for 1 million.
And they sell it for 100,000, and then come and sell it again to the ECG for $500,000. So you can see the criminal business and the
and that's just for one container.
Exactly. And so if you have thousands of containers missing, you can see at what cost it is to this nation. And so we must spare no effort to break this criminal syndicate and bring the perpetrators to book. I am happy that the Honorable Minister in his statement receiving the committee this indicated clearly that they are already developing. They have even got some leads to follow to ensure that they will trace every container that has been taken, and the perpetrators will be brought to book. I think that we must do that with dispatch and ensure that national resources meant for the benefit of the good people, the exploited, disadvantaged, oppressed people who have not yet been part of our development agenda and are seeming to be. Look, when I was member of parliament, there were areas. In fact, one of the most thorny issues was electrification.
Yeah.
You see people who are even say they are closer to some towns and others, and they have never seen electricity supply. Fortunately, and in Sanaru, we did a very good job, and within my first term of office, we got electricity to all the areas that were covered. But there are many areas in this country where people still don't have electricity supply, and it is a pain. It's a pain in the neck. It's a thorn in their throats, and I think that we should not allow anybody on the selfish motive of some greedy cabal to come and subvert this very important national project. I think that Ghanaians have a duty, and for those who are also at the port facilitating this business, because I'm sure that a lot of the containers that get taken out go through the port. How can you take a port, a whole container, 20 foot, 40 foot container, and pass through the gate? No, it's security. I remember when I was a young reporter in the late 70s and 80s, I went to cover during the revolution. There was a military man called Kenneth Sharp. He was in charge. And they were OSA. You had OSA, Omnibus Services Authority. They had buses they were running for the public, and he said that when a security man is vigilant, even if you put pin in your pocket, he will be able to unearth you, and that means if you steal a pin from a place and you are going out and he's vigilant, he can get it. But that if the security man decides not to be vigilant, bless, that you can even pass with that, you can steal an elephant and pass the elephant by the gate, and he will not see what is happening. That is what is happening at the port. I'm wondering how a 40-foot container can be taken out of the port, because you must have copious documentation. And I know that there are various checkpoints at the port. How come, in spite of the existence of all this, they can pass through this thing? So it only speaks to a high level of connivance. And I think that syndicate ought to be broken in the national interest, so that development can reach our people, and the quest for a better life, especially which President Mahama has started doing, will not be sabotaged by a greedy few.
Thank you. Dr. Ramsey.
Yes.
Missing containers.
Well, I'm not surprised, and I know a lot of Ghanaians are not surprised. Thank God that it's almost Eid al-Fitr, and thank God the MPP is no longer in government. Otherwise, there will be some missing rice.
Man said he bought some last year.
There will be some missing rice and given to party people, right? I'm not surprised. If you have a vice president, a former vice president, who took someone's rice from the pots forcefully and distributed it to party people in the name of Salah rice, then what do you expect? So you shouldn't be surprised, and we are not surprised. And this is a time where, like I said, we should reduce the complaining and then increase the prosecution. The evidence before us is clear. It's alarming. And as Honorable A.B. Hussein reiterated, We have a lot of people in our rural communities today that do not even know electricity. And I saw pictures of that, the cables that they sold to the smelter.
So they melted them.
Yes, they were melting it in Shire Hills to a Chinese company and then an Indian company. There are these huge thick aluminium cables that are used to transmit electricity from point A to point B over a long distance. And we have then a government, right, look at all these erroneous crimes and do nothing about it and even contribute to it. Yes, are we serious as a country? The port has various security checks and checkpoints. I am surprised that, and the numbers, we need to really reconcile. Yeah, we need to even reconcile the numbers.
1,200.
But in the transition report, they are saying 3,000.
Yes.
The minister went round and he had 2,000. Now it's 1,350. So who is telling the truth? What is what? Can we look at the contract, the procurement contracts of these items? Maybe through that we'll be able to trace the quantum of things that we're dealing with. Because I'm sure ECG cannot procure any items like that without going through the PPA. And so for the public's record and for us Ghanaians who know the truth, we should be able to unearth the procurement documents to know the quantum of things that we're dealing with. You understand? The quantum of missing cables or missing electrical equipment that we're dealing with. And the ECG, the former ECG boss has to be brought to books. The heads of the Temahabo, all the various heads, especially the ones in charge of security, they have to be brought to books. And they have to be interrogated on why they allowed this to happen. And to my surprise, I hear is missing. What do they mean by missing? Do you know the meaning of missing? Bless. A port that has all these systems and checks and balances and structures in place will tell you that cables or electrical equipment procured for the usage by ECG to contribute to the electrification of our dear country is missing. This is a scam on the people of Ghana. And we do not want to see anything but arrest, indeed. This is a criminal case we're dealing with. It's highly criminal. And this has indeed caused a loss to the public purse. Bless. Because the amount of cables that I saw in the pictures of the various this investigation that happened in Shire Hills, right? These are cables that, if I'm not mistaken, the quantum of what I saw will be in the millions. Will be in the millions. And so, bless, you shouldn't be surprised. I am not surprised. And that's why I reiterated. If salary rise can be taken, what is even cable? You understand? And so we want to see further investigation in this matter. The corruption in this country is too much. It has derailed the essence of good governance in this country. A lot of people are suffering. The youth of this country are suffering. And they have actually lost hope in this country. Bless. If today we should put an airplane in Kotoka and announce that there is going to be a free passage to the United States of America, I am not sure that we would even find a dog in this country. Right? Because a lot of people have lost trust in our governance system and they are fed up with the system. And it is time the new government bring back some form of hope, not just by whimsical promises or whimsical political expediencies, but pragmatic actions that seeks to deal with corruption. You understand, Bless? Because a lot of people have to go to jail. If you write and you have a list of the corrupt scandals that went on under the SWA government, the BOG case, the Bank of Ghana, right? PDS, the SkyTrain, the Palugu Dam, right? and numerous scandals, yet nothing is being done about it. But yes, we've seen some committee sets. They have been able to extrapolate some data on the corrupt practices or corrupt scandals that happen under the SWA government. We want to see some form of prosecution. I mean, the latest one is the one to do with the NSB boss, right? I am overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed, and you know, he has really tarnished the legacy of his father. I don't know what really is about the Edubuahins, but his brother did the same thing, and today his junior brother is also caught up in the same scandal. But anyways, bless. Ghana is a country that really needs to be resetted. Bless. We need to reset this country, not just by whimsical political policies, but by the political will to enact a change for the betterment of the people of Ghana. Corruption has derailed every fabric of this country, and it is time we put an end to. We cannot eradicate corruption 100%, but certain sensitive state institutions that are caught in blatant erroneous crimes, clear, and we're not doing anything about it. It's something that we need to look at, bless. And so going forward, bless, we would advocate, and we will not let this matter slip. We members of the Movement for Change will put this government to their toes. Honorable Fuseni, that if people do not go to jail, we would advocate and we will demonstrate on the streets of Accra till we see people in our jails in Ghana.
So President Mahama has more than just demonstrate, not by words.
And we need to increase the size of the jail.
I'm sure you already can see the anti-corruption drive that the president has started. And not only that, has made it clear that even its own appointees, if anybody is found complicit, will not be spared. It never happened before. For the 8 years, not even once, the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia government find it even issue one single threat to any of their members. Yeah, but all these good things that you have said is anchored finally on the judiciary that would be seen to do its work professionally,
absolutely,
fairly, and firmly.
Absolutely.
Because look, if you assemble all the evidence, you see, and they said the law is in the bosom of the judge. You assemble all the evidence, you do all the frank prosecutions
beyond reasonable doubt.
Yes, yes, and you do that, and the judge decides that he doesn't want to see whatever you are saying, and he frees the person. What do you do? So you see, it must come along with some degree of, honestly, reforms even in the judiciary. Seriously, I think that our legal system as it is now, you said it earlier on about the low level of confidence in our judicial system. Clear. So if you have it and you bring it, and some of this, sorry to say, if you go back to the days of the black goat and the yams and the this and that we just spoke about, my brother, have you come or gone? That is a problem. You'll be attempting to collect your salt in open in a heavy downpour. And nothing. So I think that we must look at this in tandem, that in this new nation and this resetting the government of His Excellency President Mahama wants to do, it should be comprehensive. If you go and reform one area and leave the other one and there's still rot in that other area, it becomes problematic. Right. And so we must have that comprehensive look and ensure that things are done. In the days of the public tribunal, you know why the public tribunals were so popular? Because they will dispense justice and win the confidence of the people. That is what matters. So, my brother, if you say there's no gravity, you John bless you whether you suspend.
Right, I'll do some more messages. Nazir Mohammed says, good morning, Pan-African TV. The energy minister should learn from this episode not to run to town with MBP information. He went to parliament with 3,000. Now this desperate bunch of rogues are trying to use that as cover. What we see that no institution has been spared. However, it appears that the ACG was a particular favorite for criminals. After PDS, one didn't expect that things could be even worse. Nanado has destroyed this nation and he himself shouldn't be allowed to go free. Bright AD says they are just being wicked to Ghanaians. Joseph Tekbe says, good morning, Bless and your panelists. So is it the same CJ who will empanel judges to sit on the ECOWAS Afua case, or should be suspended by them? That's a good question, by the way. Alaji Haruna says, Bless, Nana Akufo-Addo intentionally packed the judiciary with MPP sympathizers to do MPP bidding in the example is the parliament case. I cannot understand up to today how a chief justice will violate the constitution and be left there. She must go. Okay. I mean, there have been arguments too about, there have been conversations too about the role she played in denying the people of South representation for 4 years. That for me, when Speaker Bagbin describes it as the cardinal sin of the eighth parliament, I mean.
And you should also remember, it's the same ECG and others, where the minister John Jinapor uncovered a sticky rot at where the collection of this cash waterfall mechanism that they had put in place, where about 1.5 billion was realized, and anytime the 1.5 billion came, they set aside 500, and it was not even featured in part of the decision, and nobody could account for 500 million Ghana cedis.
PURC was even sending warning letters to the ACG boss.
Look, you can take on a monthly basis 500 million. Cannot be accounted for on a monthly basis. Master, this is highly criminal, and I think that we must go to the bottom of this matter and bring the miscreants to book.
And Bless, you see, the burden now riddled by ECG is an albatross on the necks of so many Ghanaians and even this government, because at the end of the day, we are the final consumers and we will bear the brunt. Right.
For their corruption and
yes. That's what's happening, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, unless maybe something changes. Bless. And the kind of energy mix we have in this country is not sustainable. We have a situation whereby 57% of our electricity is produced by our thermal power plants. Right. You know that we import HFO and these heavy crudes in dollars. Right. And we also know that the rate at which our CD is depreciating day by day. If we are going to calculate the cost of electricity in dollars and then sell it to the end consumer, of course there will be a pass on inflation onto the end consumer, right? And so we are pleading with the NDC government to look at ways to introduce a more sustainable and efficient source of power, like nuclear, which is cheaper, which is efficient, and in the long run would help our country. And this is in line with the vision of the Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who established the Atomic Energy Commission. Right? But we have seen series of governments that have failed to uphold to that. And so we are pleading and we are advocating that let us look into that. We cannot continue to run our thermal power plants and produce electricity. It's very expensive. Right? We have to look at other ways, cheaper ways, so that collectively we can support our industrial drive to build a self-sufficient and resilient economy and change the reorientation of this economy from an import-driven one to an export-driven one.
Right. Thank you. Let's proceed to our next topic. We have some 10 minutes more. I need this today would have to wrap up on time, but briefly, if we can touch on this story, it says that a Greek ministry KOKU board documents reveal $15 million deals linked to busted NSB boss. A lot of people didn't even know that there was an institution called the National Signals Bureau until this scandal. And the question has been that if the National Signals Bureau, an institution that people didn't even know existed, had so much corruption under it, what of the ones that we know? I mean, interesting revelation there. But 27 houses in a day, at the cost of, I think, around $290,000 per house, and several other, properties in Ghana and also in the United Kingdom. Very, very interesting. Alaji, briefly, just some 5 minutes on this last topic.
See, that's why I've always said that when a thief kisses you, you should be in a hurry to count your teeth. You see, if you come across some of these staggering figures, $50 million in an agricultural project, and this is what is supposed to help us become self-sufficient in food production. I lie? Bless. I've always said that. You see, a man who has his mouth in another man's kitchen cannot assert his independence and freedom. So agri holds one of the biggest potentials for us to function as an independent, self-reliant and respectable nation, and also serve as a raw material base, a viable raw material base to spur our industrial growth and development. Then you put money into this, and this is the outcome. And you have very unscrupulous people who can devise very devious means of siphoning these monies into their private pockets. And monies like this, $50 million, and like you rightly pointed out, somebody that can buy 27 houses
in a day.
In a day. Did you say in a day?
In a day. He bought it at once. In a day.
The 27, I thought he said 27 houses in total.
No, 37 in total, but there was
27 of the houses in a day. Yeah. God of mercy, may Allah have mercy on us. What?
Honorable Zini, you've worked all this your life.
Massa. So this one,
27 houses in a day.
Paid for it at once.
Oh my God!
He paid for 27 houses at once. I mean, interesting.
The bandits will say now
may the Ramadan Suba everybody, because sometimes when you look at this, that's why I say the days of the tribunal and the other diseases should have been back.
Yeah.
So
you bought it in one estate. It was one estate, and then
so that's why I say you can get all this, assemble all this evidence, and take this thing, for instance, to court, and eventually sometimes they can free such criminals and let them go. You know what that means? You are dealing robbers, thievery, those who can go and rob the nation and deny it of its resources for the benefit of the good people of this country. It's incredible. I want to urge the Attorney General and this country. Look, all of us are part of it. Ramsey, we must all support judicial reforms. I think that in all it's a sine qua non for the development that we seek for this country. If we don't do a resetting even in the judiciary and ensure that we have fair-minded, competent, justice-driven judges, we are going to be in trouble. And I think that we must look at it in tandem with our national goals and aspirations, so that together we can ensure that this some of these monumental crimes that are committed, when you say, they will say, oh, these are just mere allegations that people are making. But I'm saying that some of these allegations are backed by facts. I listened to the Attorney General. I think that was is it this week or last week? Is it this week or last week? I think it's early this week, or last week. Attorney General.
Yes.
When he made the clarification.
Yes. I think it was.
Master, you could see compelling evidence. Okay, and still you can go to this, and in fact sometimes you see compelling evidence like this, the person eventually walks free. Unfortunately, if a black goat or some yams surface of it. So I honestly am startled by these revelations, and I think that we must all help with the requisite evidence that we can gather. We are part of the society. We live with these people. and we know them. Ally. So some of those things that happen in our communities and others, we see them, and so we should be able to say what they are and point out to those who have been entrusted with these resources to work on our behalf. I think that monumental crimes like this must not go unpunished. Otherwise, you breed an army of looters. Already, this country has been pillaged enough. Under the 8 years that we've had, must uncountable. If we want to stand here and even talk about how people have pillaged this nation, we'll take the whole day. I think that, and I have said it as a member of the NDC, the good people of this country gave us that overwhelming mandate to deliver accountability. And His Excellency President Mahama has not missed words about his commitment to deliver accountability to the good people of this country. I think that all of us as Ghanaians have a bounden duty to help President Mahama to succeed, to help President Mahama to get to the bottom of those who have put their dirty hands in our resources and pilfered it, and for us to get the resources back to the people to work for the progress of this nation.
Right. Thank you very much. Finally, Dr. Ramsey.
Bless. For far too long, the political class has really committed erroneous crimes against the good people of Ghana, and it's time we really find amicable solutions to end this torture, economic torture of the people of Ghana. Yes, as I speak to you, go and see Kolebu and see the kind of infrastructure our doctors are working under, the conditions in there. Go to Tamale Teaching Hospital and see the kind of infrastructure that is laid there for our doctors, our mothers, indeed our women are being treated under. Look at the kind of road infrastructure that we have in this country. Go and look at the various senior high schools and see the kind of infrastructure that is being used to teach our young students. Yes. Go to the northern regions, the 5 northern regions, and see the number of schools under trees. Yet, a person has been privileged to get a political appointment to better the lives of this country and to contribute to the development of this country. And this is what he does. And a lot of them walk away with it. Tell me, under this Fourth Republic, most of the monies that were looted from the state's coffers, tell me, under this Fourth Republic, who has been jailed? How many of them have been jailed? This time, we will not allow that. And this 4-year period is a revolutionary period. The people of Ghana are hungry and are angry. Bless. We have misled these people for so long. And when I say we, I don't mean myself. I'm not part. Because we, the members of Movement for Change, not all of us. Well, political class, I agree with that. But I'm talking about governance. Because I have never been in government before. I've never held any government position. Bless. The people of Ghana are suffering. And to my surprise, this man benefited some 39 million cedis from a national security software with an Israeli company. Edubuaini. Kobna Edubuaini, right? Honorable Representative, 39 million Ghana cedis could have built some schools for our people in the northern regions.
A lot of money.
Yes, in the south, even in the west. 39 million cedis could have been used to lighten our roads that are causing accidents due to lack of street lights. $39 million could have been, 39 million cedis could have been used to support finish some of the Agenda 111 hospitals that they left unfinished. Yet, this 39 million cedis and other more were used to purchase houses and live in some form of opulence against the good people of Ghana.
In one estate.
I am not a Christian, but there's a Bible verse that I always appreciate. It says, and I quote, "For what does it profit a man when he gains the whole world and loses his soul?" Bless. I ask the political class today, and mostly some members of the MPP, and when I say the MPP, I mean the Next People's Party. What does it profit you when you gain the whole world and lose your soul? The people of Ghana brought you into power to help solve the teething issues and the economic woes. This is what you have to do. And I'm calling on the President John Dramani Mahama, that we will not sit aloof until justice is served on behalf of the people of Ghana. These people have to